and the population of each state is underneath. Okay. So I'm going to have Excel fill this all out. So we're going to do Hamilton's method in Excel. All right, so what has to go here is the sum of all these populations, right? I want to add them up. So instead of pulling out a calculator and typing it in and adding them up, I'm going to make Excel be my calculator. So the way you have Excel calculate something is that you first have to press the equals sign, and that tells Excel, I want you to do a calculation, as opposed to just what I'm writing here is just text, right? So first you press the equal sign, and then if you want to add all those things up, you can just type sum, open a parentheses, and highlight the things you want to add, and then close the parentheses. And when you press enter, it will add them all up. 12,500,000. Yeah. There's another way to do it too. If you want to just, instead of using the sum command, you could press equals, and then you could just click this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. It's more time consuming, yeah. 12,500,000. So you can do it either way. Okay. All right. Sure, yeah. So the first thing, you always have to press equals when you're telling it to do something. Then you type sum, open a parentheses, and then highlight the things you want it to add. You just click and drag till all of these things are highlighted, close the parentheses, and so you've told it you wanted to take the sum of cell B2 to cell G2. So you see each cell has an address with a letter and a number. So you're telling it to add this cell up to this cell. And then you just press enter and you get the number. There's also a sum icon, yes, behind my recording thing. So you could also just press this button up here that says auto sum, and it guesses at what you want it to add. It says, oh, I'm going to guess that she wants to add all of those numbers to the left of me. And oops, messed it up. Auto sum, just press enter. All right. So the next thing we have to do in Hamilton's method is come up with the standard divisor, right? So I've created a little box for us to do that. And the standard divisor is always the total number of people divided by the total number of seats, right? So remember in Parador's Congress, there were 250 seats to give out. Right? So in here, I'm going to do equals, because this is going to be my calculator. Calculate for me this number divided by 250 seats, 50,000. So I've got my total population and my standard divisor done. And then your standard quotas, how do you get those? Divide the population by the standard divisor. So I'm going to do equals, that's how you do a calculation, equals this number divided by, you just use the backslash, and then this number, 50,000. Enter, and we get the standard quota. Then one of the great things about Excel is that you don't have to do that over and over again. When you put the cursor on the corner of a cell, you can click and drag it, and it copies the formula to the other ones. Now I have a problem here. It's telling me division by 0. And whenever you have a problem, what you should do is click on the cell and look up at the top, and it tells you what calculation it's doing. It says we're dividing C2, column C, row 2, which is the number I want, right? But it's dividing by C10, which is this cell. And I want it to divide by, oops, sorry, C10 is this cell. I want it to divide by this cell, which is B10. So somehow it's, this one it has it right, B2 divided by B10, and then this one it says C2, C10, D2, D10. So Excel seems to think that I want it to jump cells each time, but I don't. So the way that I tell it not to is I use $ signs to keep a cell static. So I want, in all of these calculations, I want the denominator to be B10. I don't want it to change. So I go to my first one, and I put dollar signs before and after the B. And that tells Excel that when I copy this formula, I don't want you to ever change B10. I want it to always stay B10. So now I'm going to do my drag thing again, copy this formula. And now I have all my standard quotas. Now when I add up these standard quotas, what should I get? 250. So let's add them just to double check that all this is right. So just click auto sum, enter, and I get 250. Good. All right, so what do you do to get a lower quota? Round everything down. So Excel has a command called round down. So you type equals round down, then you open a parenthesis. And you say this cell is what I want you to round. And then you have to type comma 0 because Excel wants to know how many decimal places you want it to round down with. Do you want to round down to the 10th, to the 100th, to the tens place, right? So you have to give it a 0, meaning 0 decimal places. Then you just close the parentheses. So this command says round down cell B3 to 0 decimal places. Enter, and it rounds down to 32. No, because part of this project is that I want is to learn how to use Excel to do this. So everything in Excel should be done by Excel. So then I can just drag this across, and I have all my numbers rounded down. Add them up by clicking auto sum. Oops. Oh, you know what? It added the vertical. It added the vertical. So delete that. We're going to type equals sum and highlight the things that I want it to add. 246. I'm off by 4. So now my next row should be the residues, which is the decimal pieces, right? Okay, how could I get in here without just typing 0.92? How could I take what I already have? I could subtract. I could do this cell minus this cell, and I'd get the decimal piece, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do equals this cell minus this cell. Hit enter, and I get the 0.92. Then I can just drag it along. And I get all my decimal pieces. Do the subtraction? Okay. All right, so I want, so by the way, all of these steps are written down in great detail with screenshots and formulas in Moodle in this file, Excel instructions. You're going to email it to me, yeah. So these are where the Excel instructions are, or you could go back and watch this video later, right? There's both options. But let's finish this up here. We still have 7 minutes. Okay. So to get my residues, I'm going to subtract the standard quota minus the number that's the lower quota. That'll give me the decimal piece that's left over. And drag that across. And if I add all those numbers up, what should I get? 4. So let's just do that as a check on our work. Equals sum, add these all up, and I get 4. All right, now I have to figure out who to give a surplus to. Now I could just go through and pick the 4 highest, but the idea here is that I want Excel to pick the 4 highest because your project is going to have 50 states and you might have to give out like 13 extra seats. And you don't want to go through line by line reading 50 different surpluses because it'd be really easy to make a mistake. So you're going to have Excel search it. And I've got 5 minutes so I can tell you how to do this. So we're going to use an if statement. Okay. So we want Excel to search that list and pick out the 4 biggest numbers. And if it's one of the 4 biggest, we're going to have it type a 1 in this box. And if it's not, we're going to have it type a 0. Okay, so we type equals if. Okay. And then you open a parenthesis. Okay. So then we want to say if this number is bigger than or equal to, right, the 4th largest number in the list. So the command for figuring out the 4th largest number in the list is large. And then we highlight all of these numbers, comma 4. So that large command, that's saying find the 4th largest number in the list, B5 to G5. Okay. Now, if B5 is bigger than or equal to that largest number, the 4th largest number in the list, we want it to give us a 1. So you type comma 1. Otherwise, if it's not, give me a 0, comma 0. Close the parentheses. And again, this is written out in great detail in that handout. Hit enter, and it gave me a 1, right? Because 0.92 should be the biggest number in the list. Now, once I've written it, I don't have to write it over and over. Just drag this across, and something messed up. So now, I want to look at my formula and see what messed up. So I know this one's right because I wrote this one. And then this one, oh, look, this went B5 to G5, and it jumped C5 to H5. But I want B5 to H5 to always stay the same. I need the money signs. So around B5 and G5, put the dollar signs. B5 to G5. And then let's copy this. And there we go. Are my 1s and 0s in the correct places? Yep, I have 1s for the 4 biggest. Yeah. So if I add these up, equals the sum of my 1s and 0s, I should get the 4, right? I do, okay. And then my final apportionment is going to be the lower quota plus the surplus. Some of them have 1s and some of them have 0s for the surplus. So this is going to be equals this cell, the lower quota, plus the surplus cell, enter. Drag this across. And when I add those up, add up all those cells, I get 250. So I'm done. So this is my final apportionment. So this is going to be, using Excel is going to save you so much time when you have a big apportionment problem, like all 50 states, big populations, 435 seats to give out. This is going to be really handy. Then this is going to be really good for you.